Do you feel like negative thoughts are controlling your life? Do you ever feel trapped in cycles of overthinking, doubt, or self-criticism? What if I told you that there's a way to take a step back, detach, and master your mind completely, once and for all? In this video, I'm going to show you some simple tools that you can use to stop identifying with negative thoughts and regain control of your mental state, using very simple but powerful techniques that will change the way you experience life. So first, we have to understand what these negative thoughts are. And here I want to remind you that you are not your thoughts. Thoughts are simply these mental events, these mental forms that come and go, just like clouds in the sky. And if things ended there, they really wouldn't be a big deal. But the problem is we often identify with our thoughts. We think, I had a negative thought about a certain event or person, whatever, and then we take it to oftentimes an extreme. And we view that thought as though it's already come true. But remember, that's just a story, a mental story that thought is telling you. And the good news is you don't have to believe it. You don't have to become emotionally wrapped up in that thought. So again, here's the truth. You are the observer of your thoughts. Imagine, for example, watching cars pass by on the highway. Some cars are positive, some are negative. But again, you are not that actual car. You're just observing everything come and go. You're just standing on the side watching. It's the same way with your thoughts. You're the observer of everything that's coming and going, but you're not those thoughts, and you don't have to identify with them emotionally. So here's where a lot of people get stuck. When they do have a negative thought that pops up, they maybe try to push it away, they suppress it, or they argue with it. But this actually makes the thought that much stronger. Why is that? Because what you resist persists. If you're constantly fighting or arguing with these negative thoughts and trying to push back on them, you're essentially feeding them with energy. And in reality, the best thing that you can do is just to watch them and observe them pass by. Instead, think of it this way. What if you just let those thoughts be? So instead of reacting, you just observe. That's really the key to being detached from your thoughts. So now, what are some practical ways, some practical techniques that we can use to detach from these negative thoughts? Well, the first has to do with being more mindful and observing. The first technique is simple. Just label the thought as it comes in. If you have some kind of thought about worry or fear come in, just label that and say, oh yeah, there's another thought about fear, or another thought about anxiety in my job, or another thought about anxiety with a relationship, whatever it may be. So what you're doing this way is you're creating distance between you and the thought. You're saying, oh, there's another thought that goes under whatever category that applies to it. So what you're doing in this way is you're categorizing the thought as it comes in and saying, aha, yes, there's one more of that kind of thought that I often have. And you're putting it in a category and trying to create some space between you and the thought. Another technique you can use is just work to reframe the thought completely. So if you have some kind of a thought, let's say that you're worried about a project at work, you're worried it's not going to go well, then just see it for what it is, label it, oh, there's another thought that I'm having. Let's say you have to give like a presentation or something. Well, now what you can do is just reframe it. And instead of assuming that thought is right, flip it and say, no, that's not how it's going to go. Like, I'm going to do a great job. It's going to be an incredible presentation, or apply it to whatever the situation may be. But essentially flipping the script on those negative thoughts and then making them positive, because there's no reason that we have to get emotionally caught up in that negatively charged thought. And if we're going to get caught up in it, why not switch it to a positive version and get caught up in that positive outcome instead? Another thing you can do if you get stuck in this loop of negative thinking is essentially just like shift your focus. So, get up, do some kind of physical activity, go for a walk, or, just change your environment in some way and just sort of like break that habit of, you're in that place and having these negative thoughts. Shift to doing something else, doing something productive, and taking your mind away from whatever negativity you're thinking about. And another technique you can use has to do with release. So when a negative thought comes up, just picture it as a cloud floating in and then just watch as it drifts away without getting attached to it, without assuming that what that thought is saying or implying is going to come to pass. Just see that thought come in like a cloud and then watch it drift away. And this too, helps to create space between you and the thought, and it allows you not to get so emotionally tied up in whatever reality that thought is presenting as truth when it's not. So again, just to recap, here are 4 of these very simple techniques you can apply if you're having these negative thoughts. Number 1, learn to observe and label the thought as it comes in. Then number 2, reframe these negative thoughts into something neutral or ideally empowering. Flip the script on the thought. Number 3, shift your focus. Focus on a different activity. Go out for a walk, get some fresh air. Do something that just breaks that mental focus on that negativity. And then number 4, visualize these negative thoughts like clouds. They're just clouds passing through, and they come and they go, and there's no reason to get emotionally wrapped up in them. And remember, mastering your mind isn't about eliminating thoughts. It's really about learning to just observe them and let them pass like clouds in the sky, as we mentioned in one of the previous examples. So I hope you found this content helpful. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.